Okay, this is a very brief video over protocol analyzers, and I made it because it was a little easier to explain some of this in a video as opposed to typing it up in a document or an email. But we're going to be using protocol analyzers quite a bit in this class. So the first question you might have is, what is a protocol analyzer? And basically they are used for capturing, analyzing, and decoding network packets. They are sometimes called packet sniffers or sniffers. There are two major types of protocol analyzers used in the old days being like the 80s. You had hardware protocol analyzers that you carried around. They were relatively large pieces of equipment, and you connected those to the network, collected the data, and typically went back to your office or data center to analyze the network traffic. These days, software protocol analyzers are much more popular. They're software that runs on your computer. They also monitor the packets, but built into them, they're going to have a lot of really nice tools that you can use for looking for errors or analyzing problems on your network. Like I said, hardware analyzers are rarely used today. What we're going to be doing is using software protocol analyzers. We will be using at least two of these quite heavily in class. The ones that we're going to deal with and some examples of protocol analyzers is Wireshark. That's probably one of the most common ones. Information on Wireshark can be found at wireshark.org. TCP dump is a command line product, almost always installed by default on Unix and Linux machines. But if you need to download a copy or get something else related to TCP dump, the URL is tcpdump.org. Starting with Windows 10, Microsoft kind of quietly snuck something called Packet Monitor into their operating system. So if you're on a Windows machine, you might have that available to you. And then something that I just discovered recently, and we'll probably use it a little in class, is CloudShark. So it's a cloud-based version of Wireshark. It doesn't do 100% what Wireshark does, but it probably does like 98% or more. It is very handy. I will use it a lot in the class to probably share out packet captures with you that I want you to use for homeworks or that type of thing. And there are many others that can be found. I found a good, nice list at dnsstuff.com/packet-sniffers. So if you want to see what else is available out there. In the beginning, or towards the beginning of the class, I will have you use Wireshark, TCP dump, and CloudShark in homework assignments, installing them if necessary, and then doing some things to start to get familiar with them. Throughout the class, I would say using Wireshark is probably the most common thing you'll do, and possibly occasionally use CloudShark. So those are going to be the two that we probably concentrate on in this class. And that's what I say here, that we'll be using those. I don't know how much we'll use TCP dump, but I put it on the list. So to kind of see what you might be dealing with, here's a grab of a Wireshark window. Up in the top window, which is called the packet window, it is showing individual packets with a summary of the packet, the source and destination, what protocol it is, etc. Then kind of in the middle window, we can expand out frames or Ethernet or IP or UDP, or actually look at the data. We can click on those and expand those, and it will decode that information from the packet. And then down at the bottom, which sometimes may be sideways of that middle window, on the left you have a hexadecimal representation of the information in the packet, and then over the right where we have a lot of dots, this is the ASCII representation of what you see there. So if there's like host names or user IDs or things like that in the packet, you may be able to read them over in that ASCII portion. The dots means yes, there's data here, but it is not something that is a quote printable character. Next we'll look at CloudShark. It's going to look like this. Again, we have our packet window, we have our details window, frame, Ethernet. This is an ARP packet, and over to the right we have the hexadecimal and ASCII representation of data. So I didn't point it out before, but like before, we have a display filter where you can filter the information. Wireshark has that. CloudShark has that as well. The next thing I want to show you is a TCP dump. Again, it is a command line interface. So here I am on my Mac laptop with a terminal window open, and I issued the TCP dump command on the interface EN0, which is my main interface, and then it starts dumping out packets. Same information is there, or at least very similar information that we saw in Wireshark and CloudShark, but again, not quite as nice of a user interface. So that's what I wanted to run through real quick and make sure you understood protocol analyzers and kind of had some idea about the software we would be using this semester.